Hi, my name is Tiana Clark. I'm so excited to share a poem for the Poem I Wish I Had Read series for the Boutelle-Day Poetry Center at Smith College, where I am the Grace Hazard Conkling Writer in Residence right now. I'm going to be sharing one of my absolutely favorite poems by Terrance Hayes from his collection, Lighthead. And the poem I wish I had read in high school is this fabulous poem called Lighthead's Guide to the Galaxy. You can see all my notes. I'm actually going to read the poem first, and then I'll talk about why I wish I had read it when I was 15 or 16 in high school. Lighthead's Guide to the Galaxy. Ladies and gentlemen, ghost and children of the state, I am here because I could never get the hang of time. This hour, for example, would be like all the others, were it not for the rain falling through the roof. I better not be too explicit. My night is careless with itself, troublesome as a woman wearing no bra in winter. I believe everything is a metaphor for sex. Love-making mimics the act of departure. Moonlight drips from the leaves. You could spend your whole life doing no more than preparing for life and thinking, is this all there is? Thus, I am here where poets come to drink a dark, strong poison with tiny shards of ice, something to loosen my primate tongue and its syllables of debris. I know all words come from pre-existing words and divide until our pronouncements develop selves. The small dog barking at the darkness has something to say about the way we live. I'd rather have what my daddy calls scrimp. He says discreet and means the street just out of sight, not what you see, but what you perceive. That's poetry, not the noise, but the rhythm and arrangement of derangements. I'll eat you to live. That's poetry. I wish I glowed like a brown-skinned pregnant woman. I wish I could weep the way my teacher did as he read us Molly Bloom's Soliloquy of Yes. When I kiss my wife, sometimes I taste her caution. But let's not talk about that. Maybe art's only purpose is to preserve the self. Sometimes I play a game in which my primitive craft fires upon an alien ship whose intention is the destruction of the earth. Other times I fall in love with a word like somberness, or moonlight juicing naked branches. All species have a notion of emptiness, and yet the flowers don't quit opening. I am carrying the whimper you can hear when the mouth is collapsed, the wisdom of monkeys. Ask a glass of water why it pities the rain. Ask the lunatic yard dog why it tolerates the leash. Brothers and sisters, when you spend your nights out on a limb, there's a chance you'll fall in your sleep. I wish I'd read this poem in high school for several reasons. Number one, I had an incredible creative writing teacher in high school and named Bill Brown, and he's the reason I'm a poet I am today. And he introduced us to so many incredible poets. But at that time, I hadn't really been exposed to a lot of poetry. And Bill Brown read us a lot of contemporary poets. It's the first time I heard Leon Lee and Rita Dove and Sharon Olds. But I still at that young age, I had this conception about poetry being like the old dead white guys. And I didn't have a lot of examples at that time of what does it mean to write about my life, or examples from Black poets of what does it mean to write about my life. And so this line in here where Hayes in the mask and the persona of Lighthead writes, I'd rather have what my daddy calls scrimp. He says discreet. It means the street just out of sight. I love this moment where the speaker is saying, I'd rather have my daddy's dialogue. I'd rather have this colloquial term. I'd rather have what I grew up with. I'd rather have what's familiar and known to me, this dialect that's beautiful. And even though it may not be right? Even though it might not be in the traditional Western canon, and even though I don't see myself in the traditional Western canon, I'm going to make my own canon. I'm going to reify my dad and the language of my dad, the language that I grew up with, and put it inside a poem and say, this is what I choose, right? And I love this line too, of not what you see, but what you perceive. That's poetry, not the noise, but it's rhythm and arrangement of derangements. I'll eat you to live. That's poetry. And I think for me, when I was 15 and 16, poetry lit up my world. And I didn't have the language or the lexicon at that age to understand what it was doing. But Terrance Hayes says it so precisely here. I'll eat you to live. That's poetry. Poetry as a means of survival, as sustenance, that it's urgent, it's immediate. And I realized later on in life, that for me, I'm not sure if I'm writing about mastery or legacy, but I'm writing to save my own life. I'll eat you to live. That's poetry, right? Like that's an immediate need that needs to be met. And at that age, that's poetry felt that vital and that crucial for me. And so I think if I had read a poem like that at that age, I think I just would have exploded. And for me, this poem reads like an Ars Poetica, a poem about the art of poem making. And it gives me so much permission. This whole entire poem is a permission slip to write what I need to write to survive, to put myself in my work. And yeah, I also love how this poem starts, ladies and gentlemen, and by the end of this poem, it's almost like this speech. It ends, brothers and sisters, the transformation has taken place. I also love the line, I believe everything is metaphor for sex. Love making mimics the act of departure. Moonlight drips from the leaves. I may not have understood that in high school. I do now. But I think I love that line and how it carries on, that everything is a metaphor for sex. And sex, I think, has to do with power and power dynamics, right? I also love this line, when I kiss my wife, sometimes I taste her caution, but let's not talk about that. This kind of admission and then this moment of withdrawal. And I think Terrance Hayes' work teaches me that there's moments that I can reveal and there's moments that I can pull away. And I can play with that psychic distance in my work. There's a lot of play in Hayes' work that I get a lot of permission. And that would have been something really cool if I was in high school. That would have also been exciting for me to kind of play with this old form of Ars Poetica, right? But the idea of making and breaking forms, of like, how can I take this old tradition from Horace, right, of the Ars Poetica and make it my own? And here Hayes invites that play, right? And this idea of like the alien, ship, and just being playful with the rhythm and the noises in his work and how he makes and breaks forms, especially in his later work, American Sonnets for My Past and Future Assassins. That also was another text that was really important for me. Because I think at a younger age, I was terrified to write a sonnet or a villanelle or a sestina. But when I saw Hayes making and breaking these forms and making it his own, it gave me permission to do that myself. And then it also made me realize, I think Thelonious Monk has said this before too, that it's about experimentation and play and failing. Like it's all rehearsal, right? And so I wish at that age I would have not been so afraid to play and practice on the page and to invite that sense, that childlike sense of play. I think I was way too serious as a 15-year-old. I think I was very angsty, was very much into Daria and My So-Called Life, which is wonderful. But I think I was really sad, and I had an intensity at that time. And I wish, now I'm trying to get back to that childlike sense of myself and give myself permission to do a cartwheel in my poems, metaphorically speaking, to have a sense of kind of freedom and joy amidst the pain and the grief. And so I think Terrance Hayes gives me that permission. I absolutely love this poem. I think about this poem so much. And I'm so happy and excited to share it with you. I hope you spend some time with us. Get this whole collection. This whole collection is absolutely fabulous. Lighthead. And thank you so much to the Boutelle-Day Poetry Center at Smith College. Happy reading, happy writing, happy revising. Joy.